Alright, hello everyone. This is Sunny with Bottom Split, and I'm here with a tutorial or troubleshooting video. Someone messaged me on RaceDepartment and they said that they were having trouble with Automobilista 2 and not being able to map their steering with their Fanatec wheel, but from the description that they gave, it doesn't sound like anything's actually wrong with their Fanatec wheel because in the Fanatec wheel property page, the steering still shows left and right input, and they said that when they press the force feedback test button, they got strange behavior, but for me, that strange behavior is actually normal. When you press the force feedback button on the Fanatec wheelbase, it shakes very violently, and you just think like something's wrong, and that's because I don't think that Fanatec understands that this force feedback test that they've implemented is not very user friendly. But let me show you what the problem is. So if we go to tuning menu and we take a look at my settings, right now I have my settings to what is recommended, which is basically sensitivity is on auto, and force feedback, well, right now it's really high, but let's set it down to 42 just to give you an idea of how this is. I think 42 to 45 is what Fanatec recommends for Automobilista 2, but we're going to go ahead and close our tuning menu, and I'm going to show you what the problem is. So the problem is you go here to map your steer left, and you try to map it, and you can't. You turn left, and it doesn't get detected. You hit the bump stop, and then you get this strange error that says multiple inputs were detected, right? And you don't know what's wrong. Like, why is this happening? So let me show you what you should do. So first, if you haven't already done this, exit the game and go to your Documents folder and delete the Automobilista 2 folder that's inside Documents. Don't worry about your any sort of cloud data. That's all stored on the Steam servers, so you don't have to worry about that. You might have to redo your graphics settings, but you're going to want to delete that Automobilista 2 folder just to get started. This is especially true if this is not your first wheelbase. If you had like a Thrustmaster or a Logitech before, then make sure you delete that Automobilista 2 folder. Delete the one in Documents and not the one that's inside your Program Files Steam folder. So my computer, Documents, Automobilista 2, right click it and just delete it. So the next thing you're going to want to do before we fix this issue is you're going to go to your tuning menu again. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go right to sensitivity, and then we are going to turn that all the way down to 300. There could be another setting that works, but for me 300 is consistently the value that works for me. And so we're going to set that to 300, and then we're going to press right on the funky switch, and we're going to go to force feedback, and we're going to turn that down to about 10. So once you're done with that, press the tuning menu button again, this tiny button on your steering wheel, and you go back to the Fanatec default page. Now what we're going to do is we're going to click on steer left, and now that our sensitivity is at 300, let's try turning a little bit to make sure that the bump stop is already updated. So we turn left very slow. There we go. Now it was detected. See that? Steer left, joy axis -X. Now let's map right. Occasionally you might still get the error multiple inputs were detected. That's okay, just try it again. It takes a couple tries. Sometimes you might want to give it like a really fast jerk. There we go. So now it was mapped. So now my steer left and my steer right are mapped. And it takes a couple tries, and I'm sure that it might be possible to do it at the default sensitivity, but what you have to understand is that the default sensitivity on the Fanatec wheel has a really high wheel rotation, so it's going to take you a while to get to the bump stop, and it's near the bump stop when the steer left and steer right is detected. So now that steer left and steer right is detected, before we calibrate the wheel, we're going to want to change these Fanatec settings back to what Fanatec recommends, which is sensitivity all the way to auto. Takes a while to get up there. Set it to auto, and then we're going to go to force feedback, and we're going to set that to 42. And then we turn off our tuning menu, go here to game, or force feedback, sorry. You're going to want to set the gain to 60. That's what Fanatec recommends, and we're going to turn everything else all the way to 0. Now we go to control scheme, and if we calibrate the wheel, if everything worked okay, now you're going to see the steering range get updated as I turn the wheel. There we go. See that? hit next. Now that is an issue, so let's go back, calibrate wheel again. Turn it back to the center, then we hit next, and we're going to want to turn this all the way to 1080. Now it says 90 degrees, ignore that. Turn it left 190-degree angle and then move it just really slowly until you get it to 1080. You want it to be exactly at 1080 and then hit finish. Okay, steering lock 1080, steering range 100, that looks good. So now that's been calibrated. Now, of course, if you deleted the Automobilista folder, you're going to want to make sure that you map your throttle, your brake, and your clutch again, because the default settings when you open up Automobilista 2, if it detects a Fanatec wheelbase, it tries to set the pedal settings to whatever the pedals are that Fanatec uses. So any sort of axis that's on the Fanatec. So you're going to want to go to throttle, map, brake, map, clutch, map. Go to control scheme again, and then calibrate your pedals. Now this is an important step, because if you don't do this and you have really strong pedals, like I have the Hoisingfeld Sprints, and I have them pretty stiff. Now if I don't do this, then the brake is going to need 100% pressure in order to brake fully, and that's a little too stiff for me, so I'm going to go up to about 67 and then save. So now once all that's done, we should be able to go to the race menu, go to test A. Let's take this out for a drive. Let's pick a track that has some heavy braking. Let's go to Imola. Or you know what, let's go to Monza. Actually, Monza doesn't, I don't have Monza yet, so we'll just do Imola. Now while this is loading, I just want to state something that has to do with like this issue. This issue has actually been around since Project Cars 2. So Automobilista 2 was originally built on the same engine as Project Cars 2. So like this issue is not unique to Fanatec. This isn't like, oh, Fanatec sucks, so that's why this doesn't work right. I had the exact same issue with my Simucube and my Simucube 2 and even my Thrustmaster T300 RS. But let's make sure that force feedback works. If that solution worked, then everything should be fine, right? So let's go into drive. And look at that, force feedback is working. Yeah, that's good. That works really good. And you can see that the sensitivity is working correctly because the amount of rotations that I have on the wheel is exactly what should, it matches 1-to-1 with my steering wheel inside the game. Alright, so if this resolved the issue for you, please let me know in the comments. And if you still can't map your controls, let me know, and I'll try to help you work out whatever issue is that you have. Overall, I want to say that that should be the solution. If you still can't get steering to work, and Automobilista 2 is the only sim that you have, you could download Race Room Racing Experience. It's free, and it has like 1 or 2 cars and 1 or 2 tracks in the free version. Download that, but make sure that you spend a lot of time tweaking the force feedback, because the Race Room Racing Experience, the default force feedback settings are really, really terrible, and you might feel like there's something wrong with your wheel, when in reality it's just that they're force feedback default settings. I don't know who the hell thought of those, but they're really bad. So you want to spend some time putting in the force feedback settings so that you can make sure that force feedback and steering works with your wheelbase, because if it works in Race Room, then it's not the wheelbase, right? It has to be something else. So yeah, if this resolved your issue, please let me know. I hope it helps. Yeah, let me know if you have any other questions or if you need any help with anything else. Thanks, guys. Good luck.